So, good evening everyone. You won't see it until you watch the video, but I have my special Sim Magic cap on tonight, especially for this one. So, on to Monza. Now, I do know, that everybody knows Monza. So, there's just a couple of things I'm going to highlight, specifically Monza in the wet, and also general wet driving. So, first things first, when driving in the wet, there's a couple of tips. We gave it in one of our previous track guides as well, where we had a wet race. I can't remember which track it was. But a couple of things you can do. Silverstone. Okay, so a couple of things you can do. First of all, bring your ABS down to 1. I know it sounds counterintuitive. For some reason it works. And also your brake bias, bring it backwards. That will allow you to have a lot better braking without locking up, without sliding into the heavy braking zones. Then also be gentle obviously on your throttle and your steering inputs, specifically in the wet, although this track doesn't get that wet, but it is what it is. And then lastly, curbs. Be very calculated when you decide to take a curb in the wet. It's always a good practice not to accelerate on a curb. So if you, especially out of exits of corners, avoid going onto the curb on the outside, because you will lose traction, you will lose the rear. So let's go. Everybody knows Monza, I think. I don't think we have to stress too much about it. Just for
pit exit's clear. You've got cold brakes all round, be careful.
Okay, so in the wet, depending on what car you drive, your 150 mark is normally your brake marker. In the Merc, you have to brake unfortunately before the 150. That thing doesn't slow down as well.
Yellow flag.
Most important thing, don't brake. Keep clear of this white line on the left hand side, specifically in the wet. In the dry it's fine, but in the wet, don't brake on that line. Make sure your wheels are inside the track. Now it's important. Now the training server is up, yes. So the important thing for this corner, hopefully in a race like Wednesday night, we don't kill each other going into this corner. It's always a complete shambles normally, but I have faith that we'll be able to navigate it. So you're going to be hard on the brakes. If you can trail it in, it's important for you to get the brake marker for this corner specifically, because it sets up the entrance to the chicane, and it helps with the exit as well. Let me just make sure that I switched off my crew chief, otherwise he's going to be yelling at us. Okay. No, you haven't heard him yet. I'm very shut up. Maybe I muted him. Oh, I think I muted him on the stream in any case. Never mind. So you're going to be hard on the brakes. Your turning point will be as you near the middle of this this green part. So once the green part starts up until where it ends, your turning mark will be around about here. You want to don't go over the inside little hump curb. You just want to trail it in and get your wheels onto that inside on the right hand curb. Then as soon as you are over it, straighten the wheel, but try and keep as far right as possible. And just give a quick little squirt on the throttle. The reason why you do that is to engage the diff. Because if you give a quick squirt and you release it, then that helps to rotate the car again in the opposite direction. But if you keep the throttle just there, lightly on, then the diff is not engaged. Then you will have a lot more understeer and possibly losing the rear on the exit of this corner. So once you go over the first one, right here, you just want to give a quick squirt on the throttle and then release it again so that you can engage the diff, and that'll pull you around this corner. You'll be running higher TC in the wet, so you can get on the throttle a bit earlier coming out of the exit of this corner. And then it's just a straight line to the next chicane, where you're going to have the same story. just slightly different, with a slight twist on that one. So keep it the line as short as possible going around here. Brake marker normally between this 150 meter mark and the little orange line on the end of this Armco on the right hand side. So depending on what car you drive, you'll either brake here at the 150 or at the very latest here at this little orange marker on the right hand side. Same story as the previous corner. Brake in a straight line, slow the car down nice and slow it down a lot, because what you want for this specific one is you want to turn in late so that when you turn in roundabout at the end of this curb, you want to be able to keep it tight on the left here, because you need to get a good exit on the next part. So first of all, avoid the big humpy curbs, just use the flat curbs. You want to keep it on the left so that when you swing it right, you can short shift to second, and you see this creates a much straighter line for this exit. If you go too deep into the first corner, you will have a very sharp corner in this one, which will make it much more difficult for you to get the power on, and also you can lose the rear and so forth and so forth. So by sort of sacrificing the first corner of the chicane, keeping it to the left and then swinging over so that you have a nice straight exit, short shifting to second, and then over the curb on this side, just bring it back onto track so that you don't lose too much traction on that wet part. Then you stay on the left and you're going to look for that orange marker there on the right hand side of the Armco. The brake marker is normally just about a car length or so in front of this. So once again, you want to brake the car in and only turn in late. You see this little access road on the left hand side? That's sort of where you want to turn in late for this corner. The temptation is always there to turn in early, but then you have got a very long corner that you have to wait and wait and wait, and it's wet as well, so you're going to have more steering on that you need to, and that will make you slow because you're going to have to be waiting to get on the throttle. So you want to turn in late and then cut it in to create so that by the time you get to this orange marker, similar to Kailami, on the inside you want to be on the throttle and then just let it run out wide naturally, bring it back onto track. Over to this second Lesmo, this is the white marker you're looking for. Same story, brake at that white marker on the left hand side. I'm going through here in third gear. Some cars you might use second, depending on your revs. You can mount this inside curb with your wheels, although I find it too much of a hit and miss, specifically in the wet. The main thing here is you don't want to run wide. If you run wide here, you have to be very, very gently to get back on track. Otherwise, you'll easily lose the rear, because you'll see that the track slopes a little bit downwards after this curve, and that creates a bit of a slidey situation for your rear. And then just bring it back onto track. Take the shortest line possible to the next corner, everybody's favorite one. So coming up to Ascari, your brake marker will be this little man standing on the right hand side, just as you pass under this bridge. Now the important one here is that you can, in most vehicles, cut the inside corner of the first part of Ascari. Don't go too crazy with it. I'll just put maybe the left wheels over it. Keep your right wheels on the track, on the tarmac part. Don't put it on any of the painted surfaces, because all the weight will be on the right hand side. So the left wheels running over the curb will not disturb you too much. So as you get to this braking zone, hard on the brakes. I take it in third gear. Wait for about where this curb ends. We'll bring it in over these curbs on the inside. Run about like there. Be gentle on the throttle. Don't be too eager. Wait for the car to be over the curbs and settled before you get on the throttle. And then this part is you have to be very gentle. In the dry, you can attack this corner much more, but in the wet, you want to avoid the inside line, the inside slippy painted area. So if you put a wheel on there, you have to be extremely gentle. So you're going to be sort of feathering the throttle around this first part. Just keeping it tight, keeping it tight. You wait until you reach the end of this curb on the right hand side, in front of the nose. Only then you bring it over to the left and you're going to go straight line over this curb. So as soon as you bring in the nose, straighten the steering wheel and you're going to end up in around about this area here. And then it's full power. That's what's nice about Monza. You've got a lot of straights, brake, 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 short corners, wiggle, 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 a lot of straight. That's sort of the story. Now in the wet, just after the 100-meter mark on the left hand side, you will brake for the parabolica, round about here, and you're going to bring it down to third gear. Be gentle, don't be too aggressive on the brakes, specifically if you've got the brake bias set a lot to the rear. And don't be too tempted to brake too late into this corner, because once you start turning while still under a lot of braking, you will lose the rear. It's inevitable. Or you'll have a little slide and then you'll have to wait for the car to settle before getting on the power. So you want to brake, trail it into the apex, third gear, and just once again, like we say, we just wait for the nose. We're going to trail it in. Gently come off the brakes, and you're just going to hold it here. And once you feel the car settle and the nose has got grip, it should be roughly in this area where this marshal is standing. Here you can get on the throttle. If you've got the grip, stick to the inside line. That's give you maybe 0.0 something of a percentage to use this inside line or across the line. So we'll push it a little bit further in the rain. Over to the left hand side, we're going to wait for the 150 board. We're going to trail it down to first gear. At the 150, hard on the brakes. Trail it in, avoid the sausage part. Squirt on the throttle, release. And that helps to turn the car around. You can be on full on the throttle by the time you get to the apex of the second part. Now we just stay nice and close to the inside line. We're waiting for that 150 or the orange marker. Same story, want to sacrifice the first part. Keep it nice and tight so that you can have a nice straight exit. This is the important part, because that's where you actually make up time, not the late braking. Just before the orange marker, turn in late, gently on the throttle, just let it run wide. Wait for the white marker, brake, down a gear, gently on the throttle, don't go too wide, otherwise you'll have to steer on that painted surface and that will make you lose the rear. Now we're waiting here for the right hand side, waiting for that little marshal. We're going to cut the inside, brake, third gear. I fucked it up a bit there, but got it somehow. Wait for that curb, straight over this one. And don't lift in the last part of a Ascari, because you want to be on throttle, because that lifts the nose of the car so that that little curb doesn't have such a big impact. Just after the 100-meter board, brake, trail it in third, wait for the nose. Yes, I can feel the nose is nice and gripped up, and then I can plant the throttle. Even in the wet, you can do it if the car is settled. Okay, and one last quick one, and then we'll show you the pits. Reader, this one is for you, boy. Here we go. 150-meter mark, and hard on the brakes, down to first gear. Woo, I've fucked it up a bit there. It's okay. We'll rescue it, don't worry. Stay nice and tight. We're going to sacrifice the first one to have a good exit on the second one. Brake. First gear. Keep it tight on the inside so that you can short shift to second and get a nice exit out of that corner. Just before the orange marker. Third gear. Wait for the nose. Nose grips up. Then you can plant it. Wait for the white marker. There we go. Third gear. On the power, don't lose it too far. Okay, we invalidated that lap. That's alright. Wait for the marshal. Let's not brake on the grass this time like last time. Hard on the brakes. I did it again. I don't listen to myself. Never mind. Okay, I'll not punish you any further. Let's do the pit entry. I jinxed myself. You're 100% correct. So just after the 100 meters, down to third, trail it in, wait for the nose to grip up once you feel the nose is there. So the pit entry, full speed, and as you reach this little, hopefully nobody kills this little poor Kenny, just before this green marker, flat on the brakes, all the way. And as you hit first gear, engage the limit and you'll make it just in time. I'll show you it works. Okay, let's try and not bugger up this one. So looking for the 150 meter mark, hard on the brakes. Rail it in, don't hit the thick part, squirt of petrol, and off the petrol, let the rear come around. Keep it nice and tight. Just stick to the inside. Luckily the track is not so wet. Wait for the 150 or the orange marker, hard on the brakes. First gear, keep to the left, short shift on the right, and you get a nice exit going out of there. Wait for the orange marker, brake, down one, wait for the nose. As that orange marker goes past on the inside, get on the throttle. Wait for the white marker, brake, down third gear. That's a much better exit. Let's not brake on the grass this time. Go to the inside. Third gear over the inside, gentle on the throttle, don't go on the painted surface, just hold it tight. As soon as that curb ends, pull on the throttle. If the car allows, you can take a lot more of that curb on the inside of the last part of a Scari at the 100 meter mark. Brake in third, wait for the nose. As soon as you feel the nose grip, gently on the throttle. I'm going to head for the pits. Just before that green marker. I think we might have sped there. But yeah, that's a wet lap of Monza. Everybody knows this track, so it's no real surprises to anyone. So we've got nicely 40 minutes of practice left. Remember, I don't know how many new people are here for the first time. Don't know. Any new people here for the first time? Doesn't seem like it. Any? Who's here? Who's I? Oh, Ian, is it your first time here with us? Okay, nice. Okay, so just for Ian, we just explain what's going to happen now. So we've got 40 minutes left. If there's somebody that wants any of the fast guys to jump in with you, please just raise your hand, and we'll jump in with you in the car and give you some pointers and all that for the remaining of this 40 minutes. Please keep in mind that this session is exactly the same temperatures as the race on Wednesday, so whatever your tire pressures and your setup and things that you adjust here, you can use it on Wednesday as well. Then we will have a 30-minute race. Keep in mind that we will have 2 race starts, practice starts. So we'll do a race start, do lap 1, pull over to the side, return to pits, and then we'll do it again. This allows you to practice the start of the race with a lot of cars going into turn 1, how to handle that. And then on the third one, we go for a 30-minute race with 2 pit stops. Allows you to practice your pit entry and also manipulating the MFD to change your settings and so on. So for the race, we're all going to start on 100 liters. And on each of your pit stops, I want you to put in 10 liters. The reason why we use high fuel loads is for you to practice that the braking markers with a high fuel load, specifically going into turn 1 for the race on Wednesday, because your brake markers will be different than normal if you are on low fuel. And that, in a nutshell, is it. When we're in the race situation, we want you to practice defending and overtaking in a safe manner. So the aim is not to kill anyone or commit murder or anything like that. So, yeah. So, Ian, that's how we do it on a Monday night here on the training session. So, I hope you'll enjoy it, everyone.